Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hey everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. I'm so excited to have an extra special guest on the show today. Please welcome Nadine Emrich. Hi Nadine.
Hi, good morning. How's it going?
Great, how's it going for you?
Really good. It's a little gloomy out here in Los Angeles today.
Hopefully the gloom passes. Well, I'm so excited to have you on and talk about songwriting, acting, all of the things. But first, I would love for you to share with the listeners a little about yourself.
I'm out here in LA. I'm an actress singer, and I create my own music. I write my own music, and I put it out there. I'm also an actress, so I'm auditioning out here, and surviving the whole LA. Having five jobs to survive, kind of deal.
Oh man, well, we'll talk about that too, because I'm curious about the whole balance side of things. But first, let's start with music. What made you get into music initially?
Probably fear and, it was an accident. I was actually in a musical with Michelle Danner, and she really pushed me with my vocals to do more of the singing, and I've always been really scared of singing live. Like, I think acting was easier for me because I was so seasoned in it, but with singing, I was so scared to sing live, like, I would think like, "Oh, what if I sing live and I don't reach the note and I sound really lame?" So, yeah, in that musical, she really, really pushed me to become a singer. I didn't know I was gonna make music after that musical, but, after you do a project, you feel kinda like, "Oh, man, what am I gonna do next?" Because, as an artist, you have a creative mind and you wanna dabble into something new. And, my friend Rock and I used to go he's a rapper, ROK, and we used to go running often. And, one day he was like, "Well, if you want, I can, put you in the studio and see if you could, like, do a song. Can you write a song?" I was like, "Yeah, I could try, sure." And that's how it all started. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. So, how would you describe your songwriting process?
You know, I have to be relaxed when I actually like sit down to write the song, but sometimes the song will be in my head like a hook and it just keeps bothering me. Like I'm like, "Oh man, I just need to write a song to this." Or it's like an inspirational music piece, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I could write a song very easily." Sometimes I could write a song very quickly to a music piece in, like, 10 minutes. I'll be like, "Oh my goodness, how did I do that? I wrote a whole song." But I usually, like, lay down, like, I sit on the floor. It's so weird. I like to, like, sit on the floor and ground myself, and, I always write it out, like, on paper with a nice pen, and I buy journals a lot because I'm like and I tear out the sheet and then I have all these papers around me when I'm actually like writing and recording. It's kind of a hot mess, my process actually. But sometimes it's really easy to write a song, and then sometimes if I'm putting too much thought into it, I'm like, maybe I'm gonna sit on this and come back to it. But I definitely have to feel relaxed, and I like to go into creating into the night. And actually, recently I had a neighbor that I used to ask him when I was recording in the middle of the night, I would be like, "Oh, can you hear me singing?" And he would be like, "No, no, I can't hear you." I was like, "Oh, perfect. I'm getting away with singing in the middle of the night." But he moved out and now I have new neighbors and they hear me. And so now I'm like, "Oh, they must be light sleepers." Because now I can't record in the middle of the night.
That's really
Yeah.
funny. I'm all for a hot mess process. I feel like that's all of us, like creatives. We have some sort of process that works for us, but there's always moments where it happens differently. And I think that's just part of being a songwriter or any kind of creator. Like, it's not always the same way every time. And I think that's also part of the fun of it. You don't know how a song's going to come to you, and you don't know how you're going to be inspired.
Yeah, it's kind of magical, right? Like to just kind of come out with it out of nowhere. I think it's mystical. I like it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So your songs all have such a fun vibe. Love your melodies, all that. Like the music side is so good. Love your lyrics too. But like whenever you get into the recording process, how hands-on are you with the producer? Like are you very involved in that process or do they pretty much take the reins on the track and the production?
I think starting out, I was a little bit, since I was so green when I started out, I kind of relied on more of the producer and what they wanted. And I was actually lucky enough to meet G1 as like my first two songs. He did music for Tupac, and um, it was so magical to meet him because I went to his house and he's like, "Oh, I want to finish your song Breathe and work with you on some more music." And he really taught me that like you need a lot of harmonies, he taught me like kind of like the bare bones of making a song with music. And so with that, I really hold that knowledge. And then I kind of started getting into recording myself and using a lot of layers, and then I would just send it to a mixer. So I would record at home and then send it to a mixer so I can do art anytime I want. Like I wanted it to where I can do music anytime I want. And that I love that. But recently I have been open to working with more producers, and I kind of feel it out like how they like to work. And I always put in like my 2 cents, like because I know there's like a sound I want. Like I want it to sound eerie, or I want it to sound like I have a feeling of what I want it to sound like. And then I'll kind of work with the producer on like those sounds or the layers of the music, of the harmonies. And so I guess I am kind of like a half and half with the producer. I'm a little bit, knowing what I want.
Yeah. No, I totally relate. Like I feel like when I started, when I was just learning about music production, it was more I was in the studio with my producer recording the song, but it was more him like suggesting things and saying, "Oh, we can go this way, this way." Like I didn't really know exactly what I want, but now I do my own demo recordings at home and then take those in so we have that to work around. And I have such a clear thing in my head where I'm like, all right, get me at the kick drum. Let's get like a piano sound and then I'll like play that. So I feel like I have such a clear vision now for my music. And he of course like has really great ideas and we work really collaboratively, but I think having input into the creative process is really important just so the song sounds like how you want it to sound. If you don't have any kind of direction, then it might not turn out how you want. So I love that collaboration of having an idea for the song, but also being open to suggestions and others' ideas too.
That's exactly what I started doing. My last song, "Crimes You Hide," I actually kinda did a little pre-record at home, and I didn't, like, do any levels or anything. I just took it in with me as, like you said, like, "This is the blueprint," and that's kinda how we worked, and I love that. I love that you do that too because it's really helpful on them seeing your vision.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the harmonies, that's one of my favorite parts, especially with my pop music. I'm all about the harmonies and background vocals.
Yeah, I think they're the most important thing,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah, to
yeah.
make it, like, sound like different colors throughout the song.
No, for sure. So I'm curious now to chat a little about acting. How did you get into this?
Acting I got into a little bit younger. I started doing, kind of really young, a little bit of modeling when I was younger, and then I went into, like, this commercial type acting class, and I was like, "I like acting a lot." And at the time, I was like, I don't know how to become an actress or get into it, but I met a teacher, God rest his soul, Sam Christensen, and he kind of guided my career into like going to New York City to do a conservatory with Terry Schreiber and um, really taking acting in. I did some classes out here in LA, and I really wanted to get into the craft and the art. I was definitely always an artist, and so I explored so much of the theater world, and now that I'm here planted in LA, I'm doing way more auditions for TV, and that's kind of where I want my career to go. But I started out just kind of, you know, naturally kind of going within myself and using a lot of my own tools to express myself live, and that felt really good to me. Like it just felt good to like express myself in front of people.
Yeah, no, absolutely love that. And tying into music and recording and performing, How do you see like a correlation between, because when you're acting, you're playing a role, but when you're recording your songs, if you write autobiographically, those are you, but still, like, whenever you're in the studio recording at home or performing live, you're trying to get across an emotion and tell a story through the lyrics and through your voice and the melody and all that. So, how do you see those two things relating, your acting and performance as a musician?
You know what? I honestly think if you're a musician, it might be good to take an acting class because I do live performance still out here in LA, and it is a lot of half acting, like you're saying emoting. For instance, when I do like You Felt Like Home, I feel that song so much because it's very close to my heart. And sometimes I kind of tear up and for some reason that's a song that everybody afterwards comes up and says, "Oh my goodness, I love that song and that song's so beautiful and I relate to it so much." And I think that if you are acting a little bit with your performance, or even if you're going into the studio and you have that acting, background, you're able to kind of commit to the moment and the song. And I think that's what acting kind of is committing to the circumstances, you know? So I think it would be helpful for musicians to actually consider an acting class.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. That's something that I'm trying to be more aware of because whenever I was recording my earlier music, I was just focusing on hitting the notes and not screwing up the lyrics and like all of that stuff. And when I listen back to especially my first album, there's no really dynamic shifts in that. Like they all kind of sound the same, even though they're about very different things, all the songs. And so now, like, over the years, I've been a lot more mindful of my voice and using that to express emotion and to tell a story and not relying only on the lyrics to do that. And so lately, I've definitely seen a difference from song to song with how I sound. And so it's definitely easier for you, like somebody who has a background in acting, and since I don't, like, that's something I'm trying to be super mindful of and anchor myself before I actually start singing.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would be good to let loose. And also acting teaches you a lot of relaxation techniques and breathing and really planting yourself and you know what? Music kind of is like you said, a story. So throughout the song you do want to hit different emotions. So the song isn't boring, you know? So you do kind of want to have colors throughout the song. But it actually also applies to acting because my grandmother and I used to, God rest her soul too. She used to do a lot of read a lot of scenes with me for auditions and things. And the funny thing is, when I was kind of coming off fake to her, she'd be like, "Nadine, you're singing it." So I think it applies both ways, to acting as well. When you're kind of in this mode of just going through the script quickly, she'd be like, "You're singing the script. Stop singing the script."
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that so much. So I'm curious to hear more about the balance because you mentioned earlier working jobs and you're doing the acting, auditions, music, trying to get that career off the ground and continuing. So what is that balance like for you and how do you manage all of this without burning out?
I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I actually do kind of burn out. Like, I definitely and, like, usually it's, like, every 3 weeks, I just need a day, that I give myself, that I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna let myself just lie here with my little kitties," you know? But, I definitely do a lot of the business aspect in the morning, before I go to a day job, and then afterwards, I do a lot of auditions at night because we do auditions now, um we do them in our home. We have, like, the setup and the lights, which is crazier too because it's almost like actors had to become directors and producers out here because we have our own little setup, and we also had to learn that, during the pandemic, and it's kind of stuck to that form of auditioning. So, I usually will wake up in the morning and do a lot of the business in the morning, go to a day job, come home, do an audition. If I have to memorize lines, I'll come home and memorize lines the night before and then maybe the auditions the next day. So I kind of balance it that way. And then usually a lot of my days off are more of inspired writing music, or I just write randomly and I put it in my phone wherever I am, like in the car. There's a lot of times I do my vocals in the car. So it is a balancing act. It really, really is.
Well, it definitely sounds like you have a process that works for you, and I think that's really important. And recognizing when you're reaching a burnout point to pull back and reassess and try to sort things out before it gets worse. Because when you're pursuing any kind of creative passion, like I'm a songwriter, but I'm also an author. And so, like, everything I'm doing as well is very creative, and I need my mind clear and strong for it. And if you're reaching any sort of burnout or you're really stressed out, you're anxious, and all of that is going to affect your creativity and your imagination. And being a songwriter is one thing, and then with the acting too, like you're memorizing the lines, and that requires mental power, and you're getting into character and you're portraying that. And so I definitely think that it's so important for creative people, no matter what art form it is, to really take care of like health and mental health, just so you're able to stay creative and pursue those passions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important because it relaxation is the number one thing for being an artist, either singer or actress. You have to always have that relaxation.
Yeah, for sure. So now I'd love to hear about your latest release, Crimes You Hide. So can you share a little about the inspiration behind this?
I was inspired to write this because it was a song, like if you go out with a guy, right, and you're on a date and he's like, "Oh yeah, my ex is crazy" or something. And I started thinking like, "No, no, like maybe you made her crazy," you know? So I feel like that's kind of what this song's about. It's about um, you know, everybody sees what you've done to this woman kind of thing. So that's kind of my inspiration is, this guy, is a liar and he's doing all these really awful things and he's trying to make this woman crazy, but it's really him, but then everybody could see that it's him, at the end of the day.
What was the recording process like for this?
Actually, like what we had just discussed, I actually recorded it first at home, and then I do live performance with my rapper friend, and he was like, "Oh yeah, why don't you go to my producer, Christian Ponder?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah." And I worked with him the first time. My rapper, he's so amazing and inspirational to me as well. Like, not my rapper, I'm like my rapper. I'm like, he's mine. No, just kidding. He's a friend of mine who is a rapper, TJ the Great. He's amazing. He could rap and sing. It's phenomenal. Yeah, he told me to go to his producer, and I'm like, yeah, let me try it out. And so I took the song and we worked together and we did it very quickly within like 4 hours. I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, this is so quick.
Yeah, that's like literally like when my producer and I work together. I usually go to the studio for 10 hours. I usually do 9 to 7, and we get like multiple songs done like so quickly.
I love that though. That means like you guys are amazing together.
Yeah. So, looking ahead, what can listeners expect next?
Well, I'm definitely, I'm going to work a lot with some live performance with my music director, Josh Steck, and my bandmates with Tony Savage. He's a violinist, by the way. I have a violinist in my band, and he's so cool. Live, it's amazing. So we're kind of thinking of doing something either more live again or maybe something online. And yeah, I'm just focused on getting more music out there. Um, I'm also, auditioning a little bit more, luckily. Knock on wood, thank goodness. I've been lucky to be auditioning more. And that's kind of what's happening in my world.
Amazing. Well, before we go, what advice do you have for any songwriters listening?
I would say, despite the adversity you face, you could pick yourself up, rise to the occasion, and choose love for yourself and others.
Perfect. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining me. Can you share with everybody where they can connect with you online?
Yes, you can connect with me online on all the socials, Nadine Emrich, that's Nadine. My last name is Emrich. On all the platforms, it's all the same.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Yeah, it definitely was. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Nadine Emrich. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay
right
right
on
on
track.
track.